I think the idea for this garden started when we moved here, and we were just looking at 3 acres of weeds.
Steve Madison, our council member, held a community meeting because Caltrans in the city were starting to talk about what, if anything, to do with this property. And one morning we were having coffee, and Betty showed me this picture out of the Los Angeles Times and said, "This is what ought to be there. This ought to be a garden."
Shortly after that, I went to a book signing at Romans to hear Jan Smithen talk about her sun-drenched gardens, the Mediterranean style. We decided this should be a garden.
When we talked about the idea, a lot of neighbors says, "Oh, that'd be wonderful. Can we help?" The city and Water and Power gave us, Pasadena Water and Power gave us some, and we filled 3 acres with mulch. And we had our first garden volunteer meeting. We had about 40 people out here.
We were moving truckloads of mulch, trying to spread it over 3 acres of property here. And it was hard work. It was physical work that people probably hadn't done for a long time.
We had our first planting in July of 2005, just 5.5 years ago.
The city was able to see what was in our minds, and they fully bought into the idea that this should be a Mediterranean drought-tolerant climate garden.
The heart and soul of this place is Betty. Her vision, her persistence, her energy, that's what's kept this going. My idea was to, if things went wrong, if we just planted some trees, if everything went to pieces, we'd at least have some trees out here. And Betty said, oh, ye of small mind and imagination, and so now we have this.
We needed a professional, and Jan Smithen recommended Maida Dinos. Maida came out and looked at this, and I think she was probably overwhelmed at first, and I remember seeing her and Jan Smithen sit out here and kind of talk about what the possibilities were, what the topography would offer, what might be good under the oak tree. I'm sure they had many conversations about what would work, and then Maida designed the master plan. Sometimes we're surprised even now how much there is to do to really deal with the oranges from 48 trees, for instance. So Charlie came up with this idea last year. He goes, well, we should make marmalade. So we are now making marmalade.
When we started, this was demonstration of drought-tolerant gardening in our Mediterranean climate. As we moved on, it's become, it's a place where people just like to come and enjoy themselves. Westridge School has a program for Pasadena Unified School District girls. At the end of it, they ask these girls what they like about the garden. So this one girl says, I like it because I can hear my thoughts here.
Here they come and they're just awed by the plants and the flowers and the trees and the birds. They're joyful. They want to share that with the first person they come upon. So it's nice.
I just wanted to tell you how perfectly heavenly it is.
Oh, thank you.
Our son lives down on Glenarm, and we're rarely in this part of the world, but it is such a pleasure to come here when we are.
Oh,
It's just the most splendid thing. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for saying something. This is the kind of reward we get. People enjoying this garden and being so surprised that it's here and how much is here. Many people say they've been driving by for years, have no idea what's here until they park their car and get out and start walking around.
I think the fun of the whole thing was having picked up and said, let's do something, and having so many people accept it and embrace it. The city embraced this thing. Our city council member embraced it, and that's not the kind of thing that usually happens in a community.
I think our partners have been critical to the success of this garden. Marco Barantes of La Loma Development has been fabulous at creating our hardscape.
And we're sitting in chairs made for us by Ken Colburn.
Brandon Landscape has been great introducing us to NetFM and low flow irrigation.
One of the things we found is that if people can move furniture around, they use it in their own way. And every day we come out here and everything's been rearranged.
I think we should give a nod to Harnish Tree Care.
Great number of Boy Scouts.
Eagle Scouts done some projects for us in the garden.
7 solid volunteers who come over pretty regularly on Tuesdays. Finch Tree, Randy Finch's tree company, was one of our first supporters, and West Pasadena Residents Association gave us, helped us build the solar fountain. Our labyrinth was built by sophomores at Mayfield Senior School.
In the end, we want this to be a permanent part of Pasadena's landscape, and every single person we've talked to anywhere agrees.
It's so different. There's nothing else
Yeah, you're right. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you. One lady came through here and said, "Do you get as much joy out of working out here as I get walking through it?" She said, "This just fills up my soul." Exactly. And it's just as fun as can be every day. So glad you enjoy it.
There she is, standing with her spent
Artichokes.
artichoke.
You think I need a picture of this?
Absolutely. It's like a statue.